So good morning and welcome to the Saturday Coffee Chat. We're in December. Oh my gosh, mid-month, 1 week away from Christmas. Hello, ho, ho, ho. It's just for me, it just, when I heard seeing that yesterday, I'm like, oh my gosh, that kind of snuck up. But I'm prepared, I'm ready. Hopefully you guys are there or getting close. Um, so before we jump into our topic of doing a quick review on the 12-week year, what we've learned up to this point and how we're going forward with it, I want to just do a couple announcements. So hashtag MBF came out yesterday on BOD. So if you didn't get that before as an early access, you now have it in the member library. 9-week Control Freak is available on Monday for everyone to get early access. So I'm excited about that. I did like a week of it. I'm going to do some of the controlled stretches today, just kind of so I have some tips to give you guys when we get started. We'll go into prep next week or the week after Christmas, and then jump into it. We're going to be doing that 3-day refresh the week after Christmas. So anytime after Christmas to January 4th. There will be no coffee chat next weekend because it's the day after Christmas. So we're just going to take the weekend off. And then the coffee chat after that on January 2nd, hello 2021, will be our 12-week year wrap up. So you're between now and then you're going to have time to work on your lessons, to use the tools, and just kind of get yourself set. At any time between now and then, if you want to one-on-one or have questions with it, definitely reach out to Deb or myself, because we want to make sure like everybody's set with their plan. And we're going to look more deeply what that looks like here in a second. And then so we're ready and set to execute, because that's the whole big game changer for our 12-week year, is why this is different than what we've talked about in before. And then on January 9th, I'm super excited because we got a guest speaker who is going to, her company does the one thing. Like that's their book. That's how they do their trainings. That's the book we're going to be doing in January. So if you haven't gotten that yet, you might want to order that soon. And she's getting certified as a life coach through John Maxwell. And so she's going to bring us some great tools and how to take everything that we've been learning and really just kind of pump us up and push us ready to go. So that's January 9th. And then, so in January too, because I think one of the goals that a lot of us had was, I want to feel better in my clothes. Because of course we want to lose weight and we have this certain number of pounds that we want to lose. But we all definitely want to feel good in our clothes. So what I would like us to do, and start thinking about it now, is to pick an outfit, maybe something you want to buy or something you currently have, so that in January, that's kind of going to be our measure marker for us. Because if we have that leg indicator of fitting into that outfit, feeling good, we know we've been doing the actions to get there. So, and if we say we want to feel good in our clothes, then we really should back it up with, okay, what does that mean? What does that look like? What does that feel like? What's that outfit? And start thinking about one that you want to pick and use. And then just before, good morning, Bernadette. Before we get into the 12-week year, I just wanted to see, so we didn't really touch base on the end of our gut health weekly tracker, but I wanted to know, what is your experience with that? Did that kind of, what came out of that for you? And I'll just share mine. It's just, even though this last month or 2 months has not been the best for my nutrition, seeing that I am really dominating my days with lots of plant-based foods helped me mentally to not like just jump over this cliff, right? It's like, because sometimes all we focus on is the things we're not doing right. And this was a really good way to kind of shift that, to see that the things that I am doing right. So that was my takeaway with that. And I would love to hear if anyone else, what their kind of experience was after doing that. Anyone? So I know Karen tried different foods. Jeannie, who, kudos to her, she started doing it, and she hadn't, when she would tell me what she was eating in the day, it was low on veggies. But as she was looking at her plant-based food, she was actually getting quite a few. So happy to see that. So that's kind of that other thing, you know, it's like sometimes we get down on ourselves for not getting in all our greens. But if we are getting plant-based foods, then at least that's ensuring that we are getting those phytonutrients. Karen?
I was going to say, I sort of agreed with you that in seeing it, I eat a lot of plant-based foods, but I eat the same ones all the time. So that's what I did do, is try some different things. It just made me more conscious of it, trying to pick some different ones.
Awesome. And that's like the first step, is that awareness. You can't change what you don't know, right? Yeah. So that's awesome. And Deb?
I think it was the awareness is the key, because I was eating stuff, but I wasn't really aware it was really a plant-based, because it's in starch form or carb form or whatever. And it challenged me to go back to the Ultimate Portion Fix and assure myself that that is where container it belongs in, because I think I fudged a little being complacent. And so it challenged me to relook at what the food groups are.
Yeah, that's a great takeaway. I had the same experience, even we looked at freebies last week, and just knowing like, okay, I was not counting my dried cranberries correctly. It was to my benefit. Like, it's a yellow. Oh, okay. Love dried cranberries in my yogurt. Okay, so the 12-week year, the book we are reading, 6 pages a day. Don't think you're behind if you're just starting, or even if you're watching the recording and you haven't even gotten the book, you can still get it. I highly recommend it. The chapters are relatively short. It's pretty easy to read. As I was saying, I think before we started the recording, part 1 is about kind of like teaching the concepts. And then part 2 is really going into the execution. So putting what you're learning about what the 12-week year is and what it looks like, and then actually putting it down on paper and creating your 12-week year plan with some good thought and strategy and tactics. So right now is a good time to really dive into those lessons 1, 2, and 3 that I emailed out. And if you didn't get those, let me know, because I'll shoot those to you. I dove into those yesterday, really putting the things on paper instead of getting them out of my head, which is what a lot of us do. Like, we keep it in our heads. I know what my goals are. I know what I should do, and then we just like, okay, I'm going to do it. But without having actual tactical plan or the measurement capability of it and the accountability, it's really just a dream. We want to take our dreams, put them into plan, and then execute. So in lesson 1, just to recap, was actually doing your vision. So doing your vision, looking at why that's important to you, picking out and when you achieve those goals, how will you celebrate? What will that look like? What will that feel like? That's super important. And then identifying, 1 to 3 goals that you want to achieve in our 12-week year, our first 12-week year, which officially we kick off at the beginning of the year. But I'm touch on that here in a second too, on how you can start kind of really wrapping your mind around that over the next 2 weeks. So then identifying that. So if just writing it out on pencil and paper and getting it down. And then that's going to translate over to your plan, which is going to be lesson 2. And Deb's going to talk about that here in a second. So this is this lesson 1 is work we've done before. We've looked at our vision. We've looked at why creating that vision is important to us. We've identified goals. We've even broken them down. But I think, and the difference maker again is going to be how we put the plan strategically into our schedule, into our life, and stay accountable and apply those principles of accountability, which is ownership. It's, that's self-accountability, commitment, and then greatness in the moment. Because I know for me, that's one of the huge game changers. In the moment, I want comfort. So with And you'll read here that, and I think Deb touched on it, the 12-week year is a closed system. So meaning everything that you need to succeed is in the 12-week year system. So if we work it and we apply it, we will succeed. So let me just read up. What's that?
It's chapter 12 is the closed system, yeah.
Yes, chapter 12, which, so it says, apply and leverage any of the disciplines or principles and you will gain from it. But the real breakthrough comes when all of them are applied in their entirety. When applied in this way, the 12-week year becomes a self-correcting system that creates a breadcrumb trail that allows you to pinpoint any breakdown and take corrective action on a timely basis. So you can course correct quickly. It's a deliberate practice system that is designed for continuous improvement. It provides stability, and we need stability, especially after this year. So we need some things to remain the same. And if you're using the 12-week year, you're going to see a lot of things remaining the same. The principles and the disciplines remain the same. And you just create that new goal, that new, after, every 12-week year period, you reassess. I've got this next goal, or I'm continuing this goal, but you apply that same system. So the 12-week year is not one more thing you do, it's how you get things done, right? So stick that in your mind, because this can be like, oh my gosh, I gotta do the vision work again. I gotta write my goals out again. I gotta, pencil this all out. And it does take a little bit of time initially, but it's going to save you time in the long run, and you're gonna have greater success. That's what I believe. So when you go into part 2 of the book, putting it all together, chapter 13 is all about your vision. It kind of walks you through that. There's questions on page 85 you can ask yourself, just to kind of get your juices flowing. And then chapters 14 and 15 walk you through the weekly plan structure. And then on 16, it's the scorekeeping, so what that's about. And then 17 is time blocking. So when you get to that point, I would still dive into lessons 1, 2, and 3 like I did yesterday. And then I read those chapters like this morning when my cat got me up at 4. And I didn't read all those, but I flipped through to see, oh, this is cool. So even the work that I did yesterday, as I'm reading through these, putting it all into action, kind of putting it all together, there might be some tweaks that you make, but you've got the bulk of it down on paper if you do the lessons 1, 2, and 3. All right. So that's just kind of like recapping 1 and where we're at sort of in the book. And Deb, if you're ready, you can take it for lesson 2.
Yeah, the lesson 2, it's probably a 2-pager, but it really needs to reiterate your actions to be scheduled out for every day of the week or every week. And they provide examples in, is that chapter 14 and 15. And what I liked about it in chapter 14, especially, it's a simplified approach, is that you take your vision, and it could be 3 goals, and they give you examples. That's what I really like, is they give you examples in the book, and let alone lesson 1 shows examples. And when you break it out, you're breaking out your goals and then your activities. And the activities is your tactics with some time crunch to it. And that's where you are applying that 1 week methodology. And then they break it. So when you do that, you're creating your scorecard, you're creating it. And so when you're creating your weekly tactic and you're saying you're going to achieve this tactic for 1 week, then you go on your daily actions. So it should be just 1 page, not several pages and just simplify in 1-page format. And this is what you're going to have on hand, really. And then what I like to think about it is on your daily actions. What did I do today that addressed my goal? And did I do those activities? and it's probably like 9 o'clock at night, and kind of give you your little score of that day. And it's like, man, I didn't really do that 15 calls for that a tactic, and I only did 10, and you got 9 o'clock. You got 5 more calls to do. That was your measurable moment. That's where you kind of think, do you just bail out and go to bed, or take that extra hour and do the extra 5 calls, whatever you need to do, the text or whatever it is. That's where you get out of your comfort zone to get comfortable, because by the time you go to bed, you're not stirring in your head like, oh, I should have done it, coulda, woulda, shoulda. And this is what your comfort zone is, but we'll want you to get in the uncomfortable zone. So this is a weekly tactic that you're creating for your plan, and it's a 1-page way of looking at it, and it's supposed to be a quick assessment for your daily activities, and just talk to yourself, what did I do today that I had fed to my vision? And it's pretty a simplified approach, really, but that's what's nice about this whole program. You have any more, Louise?
What I was just going to add to that, and the lesson 3, I kind of, to get there, of course, I had to create the weekly routine for my week, a model week.
Yeah.
But what I love about this, so we talk about the weekends. Weekends are for fun, but they're also should be synonymous with meal planning, right? And the same with what you're going to do here, as far as making sure your week ahead is set for success, is to spend a little bit of time and just review what you did and look at where you might need to make any, where you had some breakdowns, where you might need to recommit, where you might need to course correct, so that your plan going into the next week is ready. So it's just our whole time management, I think, is something that the world could use. There's a quote, I think it was from this book, I don't know, everything you do requires time, and it's the primary and limiting factor for most people. And we go through our day with a reactive approach, generally, like 80% of our day. And then at the end of the day, the day has run us and we haven't been intentional. Like I would talk about that intentional imbalance. Like we need to have intention with the way we're spending our time and our energy and our effort. And that's what we're getting to with this system. So it does take a little bit of time in the beginning, but once you get it set, you're going to be set. So let me, did anything else, Deb? And I'll move on to share my screen on something here.
No, I think that's what it is when you're getting to the time. This is where you're going to get into lesson 3, but this whole lesson 2 was creating your routine every week. So you're going to have like 12 printouts of your plan, your activity for 12 weeks. You're going to have 12 weeks printed out. So you're going to do yourself scores throughout. So you're creating your own routine. And that's what I like about it. It's the 1 page. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So she's referring to the sample weekly plan here, I think. Yep. And that's one way to write it out. It also recommends you can create a spreadsheet, right? I want it to be in a planner so that it encompasses. So here's what I really think will be helpful is, okay, I've got this plan, I've got it written out, and these are the things that I need to do. When am I going to do it? So that's like getting it into your schedule, because if it's scheduled, you're more likely to do it. So let me share my screen. And I sent out an email with a couple of, on that email that I sent out yesterday, there was a link to some resources, and this is a printout of it. And I actually hand wrote it so that in case you're going to if you're going to use this, there is room to handwrite things. I wanted to make sure. So I hand wrote mine out. So my goals of being like lose 10 pounds in the 12 weeks. I want to organize and get ready to launch the Financial Peace University workshop that we're going to do in February, March, and then help 20 women over the next 12 weeks get started on their journey of living fit every day. identifying the tasks that I need to do. And this is all from this one sample, right? It's the same stuff. It's just kind of in a different format because I wanted to take it a step further and put it into my weekly schedule. So I have these, and then where am I going to fit them into this plan here? I put in, and I would check mark when I put it into my plan. Things like drinking 90 ounces a day, I'm not going to, put in at 9 a.m. I'm drinking water, 10, So I just kind of like put a box so that at the end of the week, and I'm going to show you too the resources that are in the spreadsheet, and just kind of check marked it to make sure. So let me share this screen. Now, can you see this where it's actually on the spreadsheet? Okay, so it's the same thing. Lose 10 pounds, organize Financial Peace University, help 20 women. Got all my tactics here, and I put it into my schedule. And what I noticed, and this is a model week. Here's what it ended up being. It's like once I kind of put this out, I could see the routine. So that lesson 2 is talking about weekly execution routine. And the book also says schedule things on the same day every week if you can. That just helps you with this routine. So I could see, and this is a lot like the meal planning strategy, but I could see where a lot of things I do the same time every day or the same time every week. And then I could also see where my free time is. So in here, what I did was I put in this block, that's my strategic block. I might not line out every little detail that I'm going to do here, but I'm going to, when I look at this time block agenda, which the book talks about too, I know when it comes to this block of time, I'm working on these goals right here, right? And then I put in my buffer block. And then I have my breakouts that on the weekend, which is I just dedicate a lot of time to family and recreation and fun and cleaning house and things like that. But I also I have a lot of time in the afternoon. If I'm very focused in these strategic blocks, this is free time or time where I can spend doing things that are like a special training I wanted to watch or doing some graphic design or something like that. So, so I really, I can give this to you guys in a fillable form so that you can plug it in. And then what you do for as far as the scorekeeping goes, I copied this and I went over to the scorekeeping tab and pasted it here. So now I can look when I'm doing my weekly review, and actually day to day, I'll know if I did these things, but I actually made these clickable so you can click in them. What did I do these things? So like create my weekly meal plan. That's one time I've allocated on a Saturday. I did that. That's 100%. Push play. I did that. Even I clicked on my rest days, did that, did it 100%. If you're doing a task that's daily, you want to do it at least 6 out of 7 days to get that 85% for that task by itself. The book talks in scorekeeping though, if you do 85% of the tactics that you've identified, they're going to get you to your goal, then you're more likely to succeed in getting to that goal, which means if I'm pushing play, if I'm using my nutrition tracker, I create my weekly meal plan, I check into my groups. If I'm doing 85% of these tasks, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'd have to do at least 6 of these tasks each week to equate to that 85% execution. If I'm doing that, I'm likely to succeed. So there's 2 ways to keep track. It's on a daily basis. Am I doing what I said I was going to do? And you can score yourself that way. And then on a weekly, did I do at least 85% of the tasks that I identified that are necessary to get me to my goal? So, and it's just information. It's just a way to know when to course correct, to know when to the breakdown is happening, to know what areas I'm struggling in and how to, go through the process of working through to overcome them so that I do those tasks. And you can then, if you're using this digital, like I'm a paper and pencil person, so I print this out. Like I've got it printed out. I will have this on my desk, and it's encouraged in the book, you know, have this with you somewhere that you can see it, carrying it around if you're, you know, you have a job in corporate world or you're running around, whatever, to keep it with you in your purse or on your desk, on the fridge, wherever's going to work for you. So, but if you use the digital, it'll help you to like create these things once for the 12-week year and then easily tweak them. So when I'm doing this is like 1 week. So then I can click here, I can duplicate, and I can make week 2. And then, you know, take off the check marks and then rescore myself. Same with the time use. I can create a copy of this, and I have this model week. And if anything needs to adjust, typically it's not going to though. The other thing is when I'm looking at my week, I also am looking at what appointments I have put into my phone and my calendar on my phone. Do I have a dentist appointment? Do I have to do something with my son? Do I need, you know, so you get those put in as well. And that's the habit I want us to get into. And it's just so that we're using our time effectively, that we know we're doing what we're supposed to be doing to get to the goal that we want to achieve. And then you have these time blocks, and it encourages you to do like an agenda. So when I'm sitting down for my strategic blocks, what am I going to do in that time? So this is part of what the system, 12-week year system, is to reconnect with your vision. So do like a mini saver session, do a 12-week plan review, looking at, you know, what I've got listed out, and assess my breakdowns. What am I not doing? I would also then encourage you to also assess your highlights, like what's going well, because we don't want to just focus on the negative. Course correct, and then recommit, like daily. And then the bulk of this time in your strategic block is going to be working on your tactics for that day, for that block. So identify that in the day. And you can identify them ahead of time, like, you know, I got to work on these things all week. And then you got your buffer block. So whatever that looks like for you, like this is time where I just don't, when I'm strategic and I'm focused on doing the one thing, and we're going to look at that deeper in January, I am not going to be distracted by the emails or the text messages or thinking about my post or ordering supplies or, you know, these other things. So when I have that buffer block, I will, and it frees my mind to know I have this buffer block and I will take care of those things. It's not like I'm going to neglect them. So when the buffer block comes, this is what I'm going to do. These are just other things I identified that I could do. And you can always add to your list. I keep a like notepad on my thing. It's like things that I want to get done, but I can't do them right now. So those are things that are going to go when I have time. So that's great for either the buffer block or some free time you've identified in your schedule. So this could just be like a running list. So if you want the digital, because the one that I sent you, you can view, you can't edit. And the reason is I have it in Google spreadsheet. And if you edit the original, you edit the original. Like, so if you want it to be editable, I'll send it to you. I'll send a copy to you and you can edit away. So just with the scorekeeping, the book kind of is geared towards, it does talk about in the beginning, we want to look at our personal vision first, because if we need to have our life in order if we're going to be able to show up in our business or in our career, in our, you know, other endeavors. So no, this is to work on your personal goals, but it also talks about business goals. So it'll talk about team vision, or it'll talk about, you know, making the sales calls and things like that. Just know, apply what work applies to you. And the rest still has some great information. When you read through the team vision, team aspirations, team accountability, it still has some really good principles for you on a personal level. So don't let the language of the business part of the book deter you from doing this, because this is really such a great personal tool. And just some last thoughts, you have greater control of your actions than you do your outcomes. So your outcome is driven by your actions. So that's why it's important to get it down. I think so important to get it into your schedule. Know when your blocks are. For me, this was really freeing to see. If I focus here, I have time here, you know, it really gives me some more time freedom. And the scorecard measures whether you did what you said was most important in order to achieve your goals. So it's keeping you accountable. It's that ownership. If you're doing the scorekeeping part of it, looking at, did I do what I said I was going to do? It's the predictor of your future. And measurement is not accountability. It's just simply feedback. It's similar to us getting on the scale if we're doing 2B mindset. It's using the Nutrition Plus tracker if we're doing UPF, right? It's not necessarily accountability, it's feedback. How am I doing here? Where's my breakdown? How can I course correct? So we're always wanting to, like, it's what it is, what it is. Our actions are actions. But it's also what's going to get us to where we want to go. So all the chapters, the next few chapters at the end sort of have pitfalls listed. And they're like these excuses that, you know, if you read some of them, you're like, oh yeah. And it kind of helps, you know, helps you shift that around. So look at the pitfalls as well. And I think that's all I had for that. Any input?
Yeah, that's this whole thing, it prompted me to look at getting good time to get your new planners.
Mhm.
I like the pencil to paper aspect, although I like the electronic. I like to have that, but that electronic is a way to plan it out and have that one sheet in front of you. And then this will be my week to week. And typically, you're right, every week should be pretty standard in a way, but life events do happen. But it gets me regrounded, and when I write it out, so that gives my little assessment if I have to tweak that time block. So
Yeah.
it's just there's plenty of planners out there, and find one that works for you if you're a pen to paper type of person. And but yeah, I'm ready. Well,
Yeah.
not ready, but I'll get there.
Yeah. So that's good. I printed this out because this is my model week, and it actually is structured a lot like the planner that I have. So when I sit down, I'll look at my model week, I'll look at my phone, look at my schedules, put my appointments in there, and just make any minor adjustments that I need to. So once you do it the first time, you have it. So just schedule time now for yourself for when you're going to do that. Yep.
Thank you for all the work that on the digital. It brings me back when I was a telecommunications engineer, coming up with what your weekly routine looks like. Then you know the blocks that are available to put in your tactics or what your free time is, and you know what your appointments are. So thank you for taking the time to come up with that spreadsheet. I'm really impressed. I'm excited
Good.
because I do have my planner, but I think once you figure out what your weekly routine is, then you know how you can plug in even the next 12 weeks. So it's important to have that weekly routine mapped out.
Yep.
Is what I get, what your folks are trying to say. So thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. It's interesting. So if you haven't watched Deb's video from yesterday, you got to watch it, because she brings out her engineer and her process control there. And this is my forte. Like, Deb and I work together. Mine was like creating the forms and the administrative stuff, you know. So we work together as a team. I love doing that kind of stuff. And the last thing is, because we are excited. One, it's going to be a new year. One, we're going into a new month. We have this system. And so Deb was talking about, and you'll read it in chapter 12, the emotional cycle, right? So we get super excited in the beginning. Then we have that pessimism, and then the valley of the grief, death. Oh, here it is. Despair. And that happens. It's a normal process. But when we get to that point, because we're excited, we see the opportunity, we see the potential, we can see how this could help us. Then we got to put in the work. So that informed pessimism. Now we're informed. Now we got to put in a little bit of effort. It's a little less exciting, but work through it. And then valley of despair. Maybe things aren't happening like you thought, or you're just like, this is just another thing I got to do, and it's not helping me out. You have to work through that, because you will start seeing the results of your actions. You will start seeing that outcome if you're taking that action. So that's the informed optimism. And then you have to push through that, because we can start coasting there to get to that final cycle of success and fulfillment. And then this just becomes a way to plug things into no matter what. Like, this is a system that you can use. So that's what I'm super excited about. I know going forward, this is how I'm going to walk people into their journey of living fit every day, of getting healthy. Okay, what are your goals? Let's break it down. What's your vision? When are you going to do it? You know, putting it into your schedule, holding yourself accountable, and committing, you know, and showing up when you said you were going to show up, even if you don't feel like it, all the stuff. So with that in mind too, the weekly accountability management, I think it is, the WHAM meetings. So we, in January, in our first 12-week year, we'll have weekly accountability check-ins, and we'll do them on our coffee chat. You know, we can do one-on-ones for sure, and just hold each other accountable to what we said we were going to do, and make sure that our actions are getting us closer to our outcome. All right, so it's time to get informed pessimism in action and do the work. If you didn't get the emails with the lessons, or if you want the digital, let me know, and I will send that out to you guys. I'll email them out separately to you guys. So I know Deb, Linda, Sheila, do you want it?
Yeah, can you send the editable digital, and then also can you send out a copy of your plan that's all filled out, so we can just kind of use that as a template? Because that was super to look at.
You betcha. Good point. Bernadette, do you want it? Yep.
I do. Thank you.
Miss Peg.
I don't think I need it edible, because I don't think I'll use it like that. I'm a writing person.
Okay, cool. That works. That's why I wanted to write it out too, because it still works, especially that first model week. Get that on paper and you're golden. So like you're saying, you don't have to go out and buy a brand new planner or make this your planner. Get the model week down if you already have a planner, and just, you can easily incorporate it. So awesome. All right, ladies, any last thoughts or questions? Have an awesome day. I won't see you before Christmas, so have a Merry Christmas. Be safe, be healthy, and we'll see you in the new year.
Thank you, Louise. Merry
Thank you, Louise.
Happy New Year, all.
Bye.